I think most Call of Duty Zombies fans can agree that Black Ops 3 Zombies is Treyarch's magnum opus and without a doubt the best COD Zombies game ever created. And while most of us can agree on the quality that Black Ops 3 has to offer, it is pretty disagreed upon which maps are the best. Now, I'm not going to get into Chronicles in this video because I wanted to keep it short and sweet, just like Cold War Zombies. So the maps included within this video will simply be all the Season Pass maps and the base maps that are given to you in Black Ops 3. And now coming in at 6th place, we have Der Eisendrock. Okay, I may have lied a little bit. The medal awarded to the least good map in Black Ops 3 is Zetsubo no Shima. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoy Zetsubo. I think it's a good map, and overall it has a pretty decent amount of replay value. My issue with Zetsubo lies more with my favoritism of the other maps in BO3. The atmosphere in Zetsubo is good, but it's not amazing, it's not great, it's not up there with some of the best maps of all time. Personally, for me, looking at a swampy green island the whole time doesn't quite match up with the feeling of being in a war-infested Stalingrad that's filled with dragons, or like an intergalactic combination of all your favorite maps like in Revelations, but overall I still enjoy the atmosphere. Now, as far as gameplay things that I don't like about Zetsubo, there's one main one that sticks out, and that's the mini boss, which are also known as the Thrashers. The Thrashers are just really annoying. I personally think the mechanic where they eat down players is really funny. They'll like, you know, pick up your teammate and run around with them and you have to kill them in order to get your teammate out. I think that's really fun, but the amount of times that these guys spawn in just a normal Zetsubo map is just absurd for no reason. Also, another thing I don't like about the gameplay is Zetsubo really suffocates the player at the beginning of the match. For example, the doors early on are just really expensive for like no reason, and then also they really complicated just turning on power, which I'm sure a lot of people don't mind doing, but I feel like it's just an unneeded extra step. And while I haven't played a lot of Call of Duty Zombies Easter eggs before, I have done Zetsubo's Easter egg a couple times, and overall it was pretty enjoyable. I just didn't really like the boss fight that much. I feel like it was pretty boring, and honestly, last time I did it, I don't think I got hit one time, maybe like once at the end, but it's just super easy. Overall, Zetsubo is a fun map that wants to harass the player with difficulty at the beginning. However, as you continue to play, it only becomes more and more fun as you get the nerfed Liquefier and the Skull of Dunsopway. Number 5, the Giant. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the Giant because it's just a really simple map. It's a remastered and slightly revamped version of the classic Der Riese map from World at War. In essence, it's pretty much just the same map as the original, except the atmosphere is less dark and more colorful. And if you really want to be specific, it's just more blue. Personally, I prefer the stylistic change in Black Ops 3 over the World at War version, but I know most people don't. As a whole, I just love the art style in BO3 and how colorful and like saturated everything is. It just feels more alive to me, but I get how a lot of people didn't like how the World at War version was so like dark, scary, grimy, and then you go to Black Ops 3 and it's just like, here's a lot of colors and it's not scary at all anymore. Gameplay wise, the Giant just has a really smooth and simple layout that I find to be really pleasant. Most of the map is comprised of tight corners and trading spots aside from the catwalk and the power area. So I do enjoy the feeling of being able to decide, do I want to go for a more challenging training experience in the spawn room, or do I just want to chill in the catwalk? The Giant is just the ultimate casual zombies map to me, and I love it for that fact. Number 4, Revelations. Now, the last map in Black Ops 3 had some giant expectations, which honestly, it didn't really live up to, but I still think that Revelations is a very enjoyable map. First of all, it's up there with my favorite looking zombies map of all time. It's just super cool visually. As I said a second ago, I love the art style of Black Ops 3, and I feel like this map brings it all together, and it's just super colorful, super saturated. There's a lot going on, but I think it works really well. Now, the ultimate flaw with Rev is the lack of a challenge. Giving the player Lil Arnie's, the Thunder Gun, the Apothecon Servant, the ability to get all the perks without Gobblegum, and Ragnaroks from the box, and probably a lot more that I'm forgetting about, makes this map far from being difficult. I still believe Rev has an important role in zombies for its gameplay though. If I were wanting to boot up a zombies map that has more to do than a classic World at War or a Black Ops 1 map, but with the same casual feeling that those maps hold, Revelations, for me at least, is the right answer to that. Number 3, Gorod Krovi. Now hear me out for a second. War-torn Stalingrad, Ray Gun Mark III, PPSH, and Dragons, count me in. Gorod is a super fun map that is different from Revelations in a lot of ways. Just like Revelations, Gorod gives you a lot of tools to deal with the zombies. However, in this map, it chooses to force the player into earning these tools instead of getting them from the box, except for the Ray Gun Mark III, of course. Honestly, my only real complaints with Gorod Krovi are that I'm bad at zombies, so it's kind of difficult for me. It's really the only Black Ops 3 map that is decently challenging in my opinion. Also, the dragon cutscene every time you get to the Pack-a-Punch is just so obnoxious. Thankfully, they made those dragon wings because without them, I would be even more annoyed. Gorod overall is just an amazing map and it has some minor flaws, but the majority of those just come back to me just being bad at zombies. The map's tone and atmosphere just feels so unique and so fun to be on that it keeps me coming back as a player. player. Now, right before we get to number 2, I would like to inform all of you of my Twitch channel. I currently stream a few times a week, typically COD Zombies, so if you're interested, the link is always in the description, and the channel name is once again Radical Quail if you want to look it up later. Alright, moving on. Number 2, Shadows of Evil. I find it funny that Shadows of Evil was so hated on during launch, and Transit was absolutely adored because of how differently the consensus has changed over the years. Shadows is just another home run for Treyarch. The map is creative in its use of new ideas and pulling from older projects. The Beast Mode was a really fun flavor that was added, and I appreciate how they built on Mob of the Dead's Afterlife. I also feel that Shadows of Evil was one of the only times we have gotten a different crew aside from Primus and Ultimus that was actually pretty good. And also the Apothecon Servant being one of, if not the best wonder weapons of all time, was definitely an awesome addition to the game. And the setting, once again, it's a very common theme with Black Ops 3. The settings, the atmospheres are just amazing in my opinion. And in this case, Morgue City is just absolutely unbelievable. It's so cool. Seriously, everything about this map works, and it's pretty obvious to tell that Treyarch sunk their heart and soul into creating this masterpiece. For example, even if you look at the pack-a-punch process, it's fairly simple and it's not difficult by any means, but it definitely takes a few games to get the hang of. Even some minor details such as the ability to wall run in the pap room, they could have just easily made a walkway. However, they opted to create a slightly more difficult means of transportation that forces the player to stay on their toes. And personally, I'm a big fan of these directive choices made on Shadows of Evil, despite the one time where I died on stream to that wall run.
Were you picking up your gun?
But overall, Shadows is an amazing map, and if I had to describe it in one word, I would say passion. Number 1, Der Eisendrache. Here at number 1, we have an absolute classic of a map. Basically, my childhood of zombies all put into a single piece of content. And I don't really care if Shadows of Evil is a better map than Der Eisendrache, because at this moment at least, I'm gonna let my nostalgia win. I think my personal favorite part of Der Eisendrache is earning the bows. None of them are really that difficult to obtain, even for a noob player like me, but these quests are just so fun to do, and you get a great weapon in return. The introduction of Panzers into this map specifically was an amazing choice, because without them, Der Eisendrache would probably be way too easy, as it's already a pretty easy map as it is. DE is really just a more noob-friendly Origins, and I think they completely hit the mark on their intended goal. I forget where exactly I heard this from, but I believe Treyarch was aiming to create an opposite of Shadows of Evil for DLC 1. They were probably aware that people weren't going to love the experimental nature that Shadows brought to the table, and because of that, they wanted to provide fans with something that they've seen before with DLC 1. And usually when an art direction goes for a safer approach, it can often feel kind of fake and not made with love necessarily, but Der Eisendrache does not feel that way at all. It feels like they really just mastered their formula. With Der Eisendrache, Treyarch didn't need to reinvent the wheel, they simply just needed to make it spin faster.